Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Average Joe Sports Show. My name is Braden. I'm going to be your host as always, and today we have my friend Cal Christensen on the other end. He's going to go ahead and help us debate our top 10 shooting guards of all time. Cal, pleasure that you're on the show. How's it going for you today?
It is going great. I'm glad to be back here for a second time. Excited to talk about my favorite position in the game of basketball.
Oh, hey, there you go. Shooting guard's favorite position. Nice.
Yes, sir.
So he should be very knowledgeable about it. So I'm excited to see.
We'll see.
Excited to see where I'm excited to see how this goes. So let me just go ahead and get my list pulled up here. All right, so our top 10 shooting guards. And my screen loads. There we go. So top 10 shooting guards across all eras. Let's go ahead and start off with my number 10 pick, who is, I think it's a little bit of a surprise. I don't know if the casual average fan has heard of him, or if most fans in general have heard of him. But I got to go with Alvin Robertson, my number 10, because while he didn't really blow you away with his points, I mean, 14 and a half, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, like that's solid numbers, not good scoring, but just look at his defensive statistics. I mean, 6-time all defensive team, 1-time defensive player of the year, 3-time steal leaders, and then he averaged, actually that 2.7 steals is the highest average steals for an entire career overall of basketball.
So, yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so that's my number 10. I was like, I didn't plan to put him in there. I just started looking at the stats and looking at the shooting guards, and I'm like, oh man, look at this guy's defenses. I'm like, wow. I'm like, defense doesn't get enough love in this league. It's all about the offense. But man, I think he's like one of only 4 guards to win Defensive Player of the Year. So, I mean, I think the defensive numbers speak for themselves. Like I said, offensively, not going to blow you away on that end. But I mean, you need a guy to lock down opposing defenders or opposing guys, and that's who you got.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a super solid pick. He was in my pool of people I was selecting for, and I don't know. It was just, like I said, it was super hard to kind of go through and cut people for the top. He unfortunately was one of the people I had to bounce. But no, that's something I love about the position of shooting guard is that, I mean, you have some impeccable scoring numbers. I mean, there'll be some guys on this list later. I mean, they're averaging over 30 points a game for a long time throughout their careers. But there's also some guys on here that could couple that with some impeccable defense too. And Alvin Robertson, he was a specialist on the defensive end, as you can see. I wasn't aware the 2.7 steals was, you said it was the most anyone has ever averaged.
Yep, for a career. Like, that is insane. Like, that's almost 3 steals a game.
Yeah, that's incredible.
To be fair, I was going to say, to be fair, though, like, they didn't keep track of steals until, like, the 70s. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, who knows what, Will Russell, Wilt Chamberlain was doing back in those days before they started counting those. But as far as recorded steals goes, that's the highest average.
Yes, for sure. I was going to ask you, what years did Alvin play? What years?
Let me see. I think it was 80 to 90. Hang on, I think I had it pulled up. Let me see. So he played from 84 to 93, and then he played 1 year from 95 to 96.
Gotcha. Didn't realize he was that recent. Wow.
Yeah. Played for the San Antonio Spurs, so good for him.
Yes.
He was Kawhi Leonard before Kawhi Leonard. And played defense better than Kawhi anyway.
Well, cool.
All right, number 10. Who you got? Cal? Who you put over the number 10?
Okay, it was super tough. I was going back and forth on who to select as the number 10, and I think I'm gonna have to go with Kobe Bryant. I'm just kidding.
I'm like, you're gonna have to defend that. Good, man. There is no way there are 10.
My gosh.
There are 9 shooting guards better than Kobe in the league. I'm sorry. I was about to. We're about to throw down.
I know. I just saw like your jaw drop there. Like, get up.
I was like, you better have some solid points to back that up.
No, okay. Now for real though, I'm gonna have to go with Reggie Miller as my number 10.
I cut him. I had him up there, but I cut him. Yeah, I just feel like he was too much of an offensive specialist, like 3-point shooting. Mm-hmm. And I think I have enough of that on here, sort of like I couldn't put him. I looked at his career numbers and I wasn't super impressed. But why'd you go ahead and throw him on there? Why'd you go ahead and throw him on number 10?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at his like career numbers, nothing like really jumps off the page initially. I don't think he had averages about 18 points a game, but he played so long and so many minutes. It was really the longevity that was a big thing for me, was longevity with players, and that's what kind of helped put people on my list. So I mean, like you said, he was kind of a specialist. I mean, he shot the three ball and he did it incredibly well. But he had some amazing playoff performances. I mean, we'll go down in history of the NBA forever, especially against the New York Knicks. He was
Yeah.
an insane competitor. I mean, we talk about like greatest trash talkers of all time, like MJ, Larry Bird. Reggie Miller was right up there. I mean, we all know like in fact, he had been fined multiple times for his in-game taunts, I also call them. So I think another thing that really was endearing about Reggie Miller is that he wasn't supposed to make it at all. I mean, he grew up with a lot of physical disabilities. He was like in metal braces for a lot of his early life, and he couldn't put the meat on the frame that he needed to really do well and compete in high school and such. So he was always super, super skinny, super, super small, but he overcame that and became like one of the greatest players ever. Oh, not even to mention his unorthodox shooting form either. Very different for players at that time. So
Yeah.
he kind of seems like a rags to riches, an unassuming character that came into basketball royalty. So I really like the story of Reggie Miller. Unfortunately, was never able to win a ring, and I really feel like that is attributed to the greatness of Michael Jordan. I mean, there were so many players during that era that should have won rings that didn't. So I remember trying to like.
Well, wasn't he on the Pacers team that lost to my Lakers? I think he was. I'm not sure though.
Yeah,
I know.
I mean, he went to the. I need to look this up too, but he went to the final.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I know he went once or twice and just couldn't quite get over the hump.
Yeah, so he went. So he was the 2000. Yeah, so he played against the Lakers in the 2000 NBA Finals.
Right. So that was definitely towards like the tail end of his career.
Yeah. Yeah. So we kept him from getting there.
Yeah. But yeah, he's just one of those Hall of Fame players that can never win that ring, and I feel like that's a pretty common factor in the Jordan era.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any debate over what goes at number one. I'm pretty sure like there's no suspense for number one on this list. Like I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think 1, 2, and 3 are pretty locked in.
Universally, there's like no debate as to who is the greatest shooting guard of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But Reggie Miller, I respect. Like I said, I did have him on my list too. I thought about putting him up there, but I think I ended up valuing the defense more than I valued his 3-point shooting, just because like you never see those kind of defensive numbers. I mean, like I just figured like that was mind blowing to me. So
yeah, absolutely. So
had to go for that. All right, going down to number 9, we've got George Gervin, the Iceman. 9-time All-Star, 9-time All-NBA, 4 scoring titles. The guy, he was Kevin Durant before Kevin Durant.
Oh, absolutely.
Just a guy who could shoot the ball, lights out, no stop. I mean, he could score. Like he could fill it up. So, I mean, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 2.6. So, I mean, his scoring is pretty good, over 25 points a game. Rebounds are pretty good. Assists, I mean, he wasn't passing the ball. Once he got the ball, man, he's putting it in the hoop. So he's not worried about.
Who would you pass the ball to when you're one of the most prolific scorers in the NBA?
Exactly. I mean, exactly.
You are who the ball needs to go to.
Yeah. So I got to give it to Gervin, who's my number 9, just because the dude could get buckets. I mean, let's face it, it's a league about getting buckets. He got buckets.
Yeah, that's what matters. One of my favorite stories about George Gervin is the scoring title duel between him and David Thompson. I love that story where David Thompson went out, he dropped 70 points that game, trying to beat George Gervin for that scoring title. And as soon as he got home, he says he turned on the dial on his radio. And this is that'll date that story.
yeah, that's an old story.
He was listening to George Gervin's game because he knew George Gervin needed 53 points to win that title. And Gervin went out there and scored 63 to eke him out. This thing is, I mean, he had the Mamba mentality, which is a big thing I look for too. I think that competitive edge is such a crucial element, which is one thing that kind of turns me off of some of today's stars. I don't feel like that's there.
They don't got that clutch gene.
Yeah.
They don't have it.
that drive to be better than anybody else.
Mm-mm.
Not buddy buddies with anybody there. They're there to compete and to win.
Yeah, this NBA is too much like, hey, what's up, man? Let's go. Hey, you want to go down to Miami? We'll play basketball together. Yeah, let's go to Miami. You know, it's too much.
We're not
like,
pointing, not pointing fingers at anybody in particular.
No, that was no one in particular. You know, that could have been any myriad of stars from Cleveland that said that did that. But you know, I mean, not throwing anyone under the bus.
No, but no, that's a big thing with George Gervin. That is a solid pick. I think. I mean, he played way back in the day. I mean, he did a lot of his damage in the ABA. So
yeah,
the fact that, I mean, his legacy has lasted through a merger of two dominant American leagues and just kind of the beginning stages of the professional sport, and all the way down to now that he's still making top 10 lists. I mean, that speaks a lot for this kind of player.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like I said, he gets buckets.
Yep.
He gets buckets. That's all you need.
Okay, cool. Transition down to my number 9. This is a tie-up between Ray Allen and Reggie Miller, but Ray Allen won out. So he's my number 9.
Okay.
All time. I think what kind of edged him out is he was, I feel, more versatile in his skills. He's fondly remembered as part of the Big Three in Boston and his heroics in the finals in Miami, but he really did most of his damage and made a name for himself in Milwaukee and Seattle in his early years. I mean, he was always that lethal 3-point scorer, which, I mean, we all know his records that he holds with that, mostly because we're just counting down how many threes Curry has to go before he beats him. But
yeah,
he still has that.
He's still got that for now. It's not going to last long, but for now, he's got it.
Yeah, but I think one thing that's overlooked a lot is he was actually super athletic. I mean, he played really, really good defense for what he was supposed to do. He was a great 3-and-D player at his time, and he actually competed in the slam dunk contest as well.
Oh, I didn't. I feel like I didn't know that.
Yeah, he didn't like win or anything. He plays 4th, but I mean, it shows like. I mean, the dude is putting people on posters. So our fond memories of Ray Allen are him like just dropping daggers from behind the arc, super clutch, and just racking up those threes. But the dude was an athlete. He put you on a poster in his early years too.
Oh, hey, you know.
I feel like he's a little more well-rounded than Reggie was. I mean, then again, I mean, we can switch them 9 and 10, even higher. I mean, that's just how.
Yeah.
Look out on my list at this moment.
Yeah, I've actually got him on my list too. I think I don't know if I have number 8 or number 7. I'm not 100% certain where I slotted him, but I got him on my list too. So we'll get to that. But no, yeah, Ray Allen, that's a solid pick. I mean, he's like you said, he is known for his clutch 3-point shooting. I mean, LeBron doesn't get that ring in Miami without him.
No, he doesn't. That's one of the greatest shots ever hit in NBA Finals history. Probably the greatest.
Yeah, he doesn't make that shot. LeBron's not getting that ring.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the hard truth. That's facts.
Yeah, Ray Allen, I got Ray Allen. I dig that one. That's a good shot. And like you said, knockdown 3-point shooter. He was the 3-point shooter. He was the best 3-point shooter before we saw Steph Curry.
Absolutely.
So. All right, moving on down to number 8, where we have there he is, Ray Allen. So there he is.
There you go. Okay.
So 2-time.
Yeah, we can see his stats up there.
Yeah, 10-time All-Star, which I mean, 10-time All-Star for pretty much a role player. You know, he was never really ever a superstar per se. You know, not at the level of the LeBrons or the Kevin Durant's or the Kobe's. You know, like he was never like a superstar level player, but he still got 10 All-Star games.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, almost
the All-Star game. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say almost 19 points, 4 rebounds, 3.4 assists, and and he's actually good defensively. You know, over a steal per game and 40% 3-point shooting for a career.
Mm-hmm.
Most players hit 40% for a season. He did it for a career. So yeah, that's why I bumped him up there to number 8. So, anyways, what were you gonna say about him?
Oh, I was just gonna say, to comment, like he was never like a superstar level. At first, it kind of like sounds weird calling Ray Allen a role player, but I mean, you look at his All NBA selections, and he had 2 of them as you got listed up there, but he never made first team. I don't ever. Yeah. So I mean, he was always one of the best players in the league, but he wasn't like a Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard level, James Harden kind of thing, where he was like dominant. But
And that could be a product of who he was as a player. I feel like he wasn't one of those guys who was, going to go out there and force his shots and, go out there and sort of be that superstar. I feel like he was always content being that, third guy lining up next to Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce in Boston, lining up next to Chris Bosh, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade in Miami. Like just that sort of thing, like he was always willing to just be the guy that's like, you want me to knock down a shot? I'll knock down a shot. You want to play defense? I'll play defense. Like he was one of those guys. It's like one of those good guys to have in your locker room because he's going to go to put his head down, go to work, do his job.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that really speaks to his greatness too. And I'll mention that same quality about another player on this list. He did what he needed to win, and his ego never got in the way of the ultimate prize of winning basketball games, which is a huge thing. And that was really spoke in Boston with some of the drama that went down there. He was able to that behind him to still bring home a championship. So yeah, Ray Allen, I'm a big fan of that guy.
Yeah, I love me some Ray Allen. Plus that shooting stroke is just so smooth,
Yeah.
I mean, look, I got the pictures right there, that's just like that's like just watching him shoot the ball, you're like, whoo, that is beautiful.
Yeah, cool. All right, so to go down to my number 8, I mean, we're kind of I thought it would be pretty similar for our top 10s. We'd have the same guys. We just kind of shuffle around in position.
Yeah.
So I put my number 8 is George Gervin.
Oh, okay. So there you go.
I ranked him a little high. I just thought his prolific scoring ability and just how dominant he was for his time ranked him a little bit higher for me.
I dig that. Like it makes sense to me. I mean, like I feel like at the back half of this list, I feel like there's a lot of guys you can sort of like you can flip flop them, and like no one's really gonna be mad about it.
Right, yeah.
Like no one's gonna be like, oh, you put Gervin above Ray Allen? Oh, heck no!
How dare you?
yeah. No, I feel like nobody's ever gonna do that. So like I feel like in the beginning it's all sort of flip flop, interchangeable. Like there's no clear cut. Like, dang.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's not much shock value, I guess you can say there, unless you're putting Kobe at number 10. But all these guys make a case where they should be. So. I mean, we kind of already talked about George Gervin there. Not much more to say, but he was my number 8.
Nice. Perfect. So going on down to number 7, where I've got Pete Maravich.
I put Pete Maravich as my number 7 as well.
Oh, look at that. Hey, we
might think alike there.
We agreed on something. But I put him there again because the dude got buckets. Yeah. I mean, 5-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, 1-time scoring champion. 24 points, 4 rebounds, 5.5 assists, pretty much 1.4 steals. So get it done at both ends of the floor. And yeah, I mean, Pistol Pete Maravich, I mean, dude got in the bucket. I mean, what I don't know what else you can say about him other than dude could score. That's why I got number 7 because I like his scoring.
I think one big thing that I don't know it gets pointed out every once in a while, but he did all of his scoring in the NBA before the evolution of the 3-point line.
That's true.
Every bucket he made was 2 points. And he wasn't the guy who was, taking the 10-foot mid-range jump shot or driving in for layups. Pete Maravich was an offensive artist. I mean, that guy, he would drop the ball from anywhere on the floor. And so I don't know. I really wish that he could have played in today's NBA, especially today's NBA, where the guard position is prioritized. They have an incredibly fast paced game today, and the 3-point shot is prioritized above all else. I mean, he would have thrived in today's NBA.
Oh yeah, especially with that 3-point line. I mean,
yeah, it would have been huge. So I know. I wish we had all of the footage so you can go back and really count. All right, which shots would be beyond the 3-point line that we could count and really see how many points he would have averaged in today's NBA and see if that kind of shuffles him up any lists. But
so apparently somebody actually tracked all Maravich's shots, and they made.
Do we have footage from all his games?
I guess they found it somehow, but apparently I just found this out. But if he played the same way with a 3-point line, he would have averaged 57 points a night. With the 3-point line.
Are you kidding? 57?
Well, that's what this guy from this coach at LSU tracked all of Maravich's shot.
Is that NBA or is that in college?
I don't know. It doesn't say. He said all of his shots. So I mean, I assume that would be. I mean, maybe that's just talking about college.
because he played at LSU, so
So it might
college.
just be for college, but still 57 points. I mean, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, he averaged 44 in college.
Yeah.
So it's not that much more. But still, his career average is a 24.2. I'm sure that would be much close to 30.
Oh,
Which
absolutely.
put him at the top of the points per game in career averages in the history of the NBA, right up there with Wilt and MJ. So
yeah.
Also, something else to note is he had a very short career in relative terms. The last couple guys he mentioned, I mean, Ray Allen and Reggie Miller averaged, or not average, but they played like 17, 18 seasons in the NBA. Maravich had 9.5, you could really say, his last year.
10-year, so 10-year career. So he got to the All-Star game, half of his time there. You can't argue with that, I mean.
Yeah, the poor guy, he struggled a lot with injuries, especially towards the latter end of his career, and he was kind of stuck on some bummer teams for a while.
Yeah, and then like you said, Reggie Miller played 18 years. So I mean, the dude had longevity going for him. So yeah,
that's something that is big for me. But I mean, it's Pistol Pete. Not only was he an incredible scoring machine, but he had insane handles too. I mean, he was Kyrie before Kyrie.
Behind the back passes, hitting people in stride, like, man.
Many people would say, or many of the oldies who are still around today, they would say that he had the best handles in the history of the NBA.
So. It could be true. I mean, that was something that he was known for. He's that in his passing. Pistol Pete. The reason they called him Pistol Pete. He didn't just get that name by accident. So,
I mean, he only averaged I think his highest was 6 point something assists per game, was the highest he averaged in his career. So I mean,
but still, as a two guard, your job is
going to an assists. But obviously, open it up for creative scoring options with how many times you put the ball in the bucket.
Oh yeah.
So he got that separation he needed. So Pistol Pete, number 7. He's
number 7. Coming up at number 6, I think. I got Clyde Drexler put back down at number 6. I was looking at his stats, and I mean, I wasn't super impressed, to be honest. I feel like people have him ranked up higher, but if you're looking at just stats, I mean, only 20 points, 6 rebounds, 5. I mean, those are decent numbers, but he only won once. He's only an All NBA 5 times, 10-time All-Star. So I got him all the way back at number 6, even though I feel like a lot of people have him a lot higher up, just because I feel like his counting numbers, they just don't pop out the page to me. There's nothing about his numbers that say, oh my gosh, that dude was good. But at the same time, he did have a decent career. So yeah,
he only averaged 20 points a game as a career.
Yeah, that's only. I mean, we look at the
only guy 20 points.
But I mean, look at the guy played 15 seasons. So I mean, he did play for a long time. But I feel like he's more of a jack of all trades than a pure scorer. So I mean, I'm not super. So that's why I put him at number 6. And I feel like his game was a bit more well-rounded, a bit more eye-popping. Maybe it's more of a name legacy thing than over guys like Ray Allen or Reggie Miller, guys like that. But I got him up there at number 6 because I mean, he was a good player. He's a great player. I mean, obviously in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, his numbers just didn't quite pop out to me, or I wasn't like, oh dang.
Yeah, it doesn't have that George Irving kind of thing. We're looking at
that.
Gosh, 27 a game.
Yeah. Just wasn't there for me.
This has been mentioned quite often, but I think probably Clyde Drexler's biggest failing was playing during the MJ era.
That's true. I think that's a lot of players' biggest failing.
Yeah, he got overshadowed so many times because they play the same position. He actually finished second MVP voting to Jordan once as well. So, which kind of just speaks to how great of a player he was, but Michael Jordan,
he got, unfortunately,
could not get over that hump.
He played in the era of Michael Jordan, and that casts a shadow over a lot of NBA players. Charles Barkley, Karl Malone. Yeah, Karl Malone, yeah. John Stockton. I was thinking of Patrick Ewing. All these guys just they couldn't get anywhere against Jordan. That Jordan just said, nope, I'm getting this ring. Sorry, you get next year. Oh wait, no, sorry, I got this year too. Oh no, sorry, I'm getting that next year too.
And I'll take some time off, and I'll come back and dominate.
I'll come back and I'll take it back. Yeah, there you go. That's my ring now.
Yeah, but we'll talk about Jordan much later. I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's on your list, but
I got him. Actually, he's actually coming up next at number 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's coming up.
I think Clyde Drexler, for me, one of the reasons why I loved him so much, and he's number 6 on the list as well. So we're matching again there.
Hey, there you go.
So much fun to watch. I mean, his top 10 highlight reel is just spectacular. Like he's catching half court alley-oop passes and dunking them. Like he was doing the stuff Jordan could also do, but Jordan just put up a little bit bigger numbers. So I feel like if he would have played 10 years earlier or 10 years after, we would have a much bigger opinion of
or more, you have more respect for his overall game as a player because he wasn't clouded by, Michael Jordan's shadow. Just
yeah. I mean, even though I guess to kind of switch gears here, to go back to his career averages, I mean, to average 20 points a game over a 15-year span, that is pretty impressive. Because I mean, it is hard to be because you see a lot of players' careers have this peak. They start out pretty low or low-ish when they begin in the league, their rookie and sophomore seasons, as they're kind of bridging that gap between college and the pros. And so they'll average, in the teens or so. And even Kobe, we saw that he really struggled on making that jump to the league. And then they'll climb up and they'll hit their peak and then they'll eventually slide back down. But to create a baseline between all those years of a decade and a half and put it at 20 points per game, I mean, that's higher than most people's peak that they ever get to. So I think that longevity there, and as I spoke before, I'm a big fan of, really plays in Clyde's favor.
Yeah, I mean, 15 years, that's nothing to laugh at. I mean, the toll that takes on your body, the fact that you're able to stay, especially in an era back then where there wasn't as much care paid to athletes' bodies. I mean, you didn't have players spending $1 million on their health. It was just sort of like, you do what you want to do, you work out, you play the game, and then you go home and you smoke cigars or drink beer, or you do whatever you're going to do. There wasn't as much of an emphasis on player health as there is in today's game.
Yeah, I think that plays a factor into, I mean, the impact of this list. I think we have a lot of players that could have made it. A lot of, I guess, retro players was looking for, vintage players from past eras that would have been on this list had they not been victims of injuries that they couldn't recover from. That today are, they tore an ACL or something. That's a big deal, but I mean, they can come back from it. Where Clyde Drexler's day, you take your ACL, you're done.
Yeah, it's not good news.
Yeah, you're not coming back. You will never be the same player. So
yeah.
Anyway, Clyde Drexler, both of our number 6 of all time.
Number 5, I think, if I remember right, I think I got a current player here at number 5. Yeah, I got James Harden here at number 5. One of the MVPs. So I mean, and even though his career hasn't finished yet, I mean, he is one of the greatest scorers we've ever seen. And I'm not personally a huge fan of James Harden, to be honest. I don't like the way that he plays the game. I don't like the way that he gets the free throw line, that he sticks his arm in other players' arms and throws his arms up in the air, and they get called for the foul. But I mean, I got to hand it to James Harden. The dude can get buckets, and that's something that I look for when I'm a shooting guard. You think of the prototypical position from way back in the day. This number 2, the 2 guard gets your points. Point guard brings it up. Your 2 guard gets the ball in the hoop. So multiple time All-Star. Won the MVP, 7-time All-NBA, 1-time 6-man back when he was with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Led the league in assists once. He's probably gonna do it again this year. Yeah, he's over 11 assists a game this year. So the dude, he can definitely score. And then he's shooting 45% from the field for a career, which is good. 25 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. So I got number 5 because, and it's possible he climbs a little bit higher on this list, depending on if he can win something, maybe he goes a little bit higher than number 5. But right now, just based off of the fact that he can score, and he can score at a level that we haven't seen since, probably since, Wilt Chamberlain, or, or Michael Jordan, guys that can just,
young Kobe,
guys that can just flat out score the ball, get it in the rim multiple different ways. They're going to kill you multiple different ways. You can't stop them you can't stop them. You can only slow them down.
Absolutely. I want to go back. I don't believe there has ever been, or may ever will be, a player that wins 6th Man of the Year and MVP in the same career. That paints a very interesting picture.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of paints back to your point where, a lot of players, a lot of the young players in the league, they sort of take them a couple of years to to get going. And granted, he was buried on a team that was, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka. I mean,
yeah, they already had their big three.
So, I'm gonna look up here. I'm gonna see if there's anybody that's won. See all the other people, what other players done. So Kevin McHale, Bobby Jones, and Bill Walton.
Okay, so like way back in the day.
Yeah, so it looks like yeah, so that looks like that's his thing. So wait, maybe there's just Hall of Famers. So actually, I think it's only Bill Walton and James Harden. Those are the only two guys that have won Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah, I don't think Kevin McHale ever won an MVP.
Yeah, no. So those are guys. I misread that. Those are guys who are in the Hall of Fame with a sixth man on their on their resume. So it's not.
And Bill Walton won it after his MVP year.
Yeah.
In his career, when he was sidelined by injuries again, like we spoke of.
Injuries, man. It's killed a lot of great careers, man. Injuries suck.
Yeah, made a lot of, what could have been.
Yeah. But still, I still remember James Harden, I mean, just like the fact, this the handles. Like, I don't know if I still remember when he put Wesley Johnson on his butt. That crossover. When he just puts him on his butt and then stares him down and then he just nails the shot.
And like, everyone is like staring, like, I can't believe he just did that. I can't remember who it was.
Was it Rubio maybe?
He got like put a hand in his face and like runs out to guard him, and he just like, he's like, oh, it's buried.
He's just like, whatever, I'm just gonna hit the shot. So I mean, dude, like I said, handles for score. He's one of those top scorers in the league today. He's a guy who can go out there and get you 40 points in his sleep.
Mm-hmm. He's the dad bod god. He's amazing.
Exactly.
He's another unassuming guy.
Yeah, you look at him, and he's like chiseling. You're like, oh, that guy can't do. Whoa, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, super random story. I guess I once went to a basketball camp, and one of the guys there who was like the defensive coordinator, that was his big thing. Is he played defense. He played like in college against like Russell Westbrook and James Harden and stuff. And so the guy that cooked him more than anybody else was James Harden, because he took one step in the gym, didn't know who he was, just some guy from Arizona, and he's like, oh, this guy looks fat and out of shape. This will be a piece of cake. And then James Harden.
Then he just
him up and spit him out,
He's deceptively quick. He's one of those guys where you don't think he's going to be quick, and all of a sudden he's right by you, and or he's got your arm tangled up in his arm, and he's throwing his hands up in the air, and you're getting called for the foul.
Yeah, he's super polarizing. Like you said, he's one of either you love him or hate him, and I don't know personally how I feel about that. Like, A, feels like you're kind of cheating the game of basketball, but then B, like, you almost got
to win. So if you can get away with it, why not? I mean, just because you do something that no one else does, should you be penalized for that?
Yeah, I mean, we can look at all these other players that had rules made for them. I mean, Will Chamberlain was dunking from the free throw line and inbounding the ball behind the backboard into the hoop and scoring points,
And, offensive goaltending, he'd always
why not?
Shoot the ball, he'd just grab it and put it in.
Yeah, that too. I mean, he's like, it's not against the rules. I want to win.
They had to widen the lane. They had to dunk the ball.
Yeah, there's a lot of rules. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if like they are continually critiquing, hand checks offensively and defensively because of James Harden. But
yeah,
we've seen like teams change their defensive sets. I mean, we've seen them like play defense with their hands behind their backs almost.
Oh yeah, because they
can't
touch him.
Entangling, yeah.
If you touch him, he's going to call you. You got a foul called on you.
Yeah, and he's going to the line, and he'll probably make it too.
Exactly. He'll make it. Yeah. Like he'll make it to the line. He'll just, So I remember Lakers are doing like, a lot of like hands behind their back, like, we're not gonna touch you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then it just makes it easier for him because that's less hands in the air. Just his vision of the basket. So
yeah, well, it's like that old phrase, hand down, man down.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, James Harden, he's solid pick at number 5. I will slip in here a little bit. I didn't include any current players on my list. I just feel like when we're going through top 10 all time, I usually try and avoid current players because their story isn't finished being
finished. Yeah.
So I mean, there's plenty of players like James Harden, a couple others we can mention that could very well fit on this top 10 currently. And 5 years from now, we'll be on there for sure. They'll be a guaranteed. And James Harden will very well be one of those players. I don't see anything really going wrong. I mean, if he breaks a leg tomorrow and has to get amputated and never plays another game, he'll probably still be on a top 10 list.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's on my top 5 right now with just based off of what he's done with his career so far.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So number 5, James Harden. Who you got?
Okay, so my number 5, he's a more recent player, but I have to go with Dwayne Wade, the number
Okay.
5 all-time shooting guard. I really loved him, like the LeBron Miami Dwayne Wade. I mean, he was one of the players I feel like who never won an MVP that probably should have. Especially when he, 24 years old, he led the Miami to the first ever NBA championship, averaging over 38 points a game for that playoffs. I mean, he was incredible. Granted, he had some prolific names on the roster in, an old Shaquille O'Neal and Alonzo Mourning.
I don't think. Yeah,
But-
Shaq was old. I don't think he was washed up yet, though. Let me see what-
Not washed up, but he definitely wasn't like a big three we see now, like with James Harden and Kyrie and Kevin Durant. He was still solid. He was a good player, and he'd start, but he wasn't going to go out there and score 25 points and grab 15 rebounds. I mean, the responsibility of carrying that team was on Dwayne Wade's shoulders, and he did it. And I thought that is just one of the greatest single runs I feel like in recent memory. He was quite unstoppable in his prime.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get some. Let's see. So for that playoff series you're talking about, Shaq, he was averaging. He's 13 points, 10 rebounds. So yeah, he definitely wasn't. He wasn't the dominant force he was back when he was winning titles with the Lakers, but still, that's no slouch. Being able to, get 13.
No, not at all. That's starting quality center production.
Yeah, right? and he's just a big body down there in the middle, just taking up the lane. So,
when you're arguing how great of a run that was, a lot of people put, we had Shaquille O'Neal on that team, but Shaquille was, as I hate to say, but he kind of was a shell of his former self.
Yeah, unfortunately,
that's Shaquille O'Neal. He was old man Shaq.
Yeah, he wasn't the same Shaq that he was. But still, yeah. So I get that. Like James, I think I have Dwayne Wade coming up next on my list. So
okay,
yeah. So I've definitely got him up there, but I think I got him at number 4. But yeah, Dwayne Wade, great player. I was there, so I still remember. This isn't a point for Dwayne Wade's favor. It's a point for my guy Kobe's favor. But I was there in the game when Kobe hit the fadeaway 3-pointer over the side of Dwayne Wade that hit the backboard and win it. Like, I was there at that game. I watched that moment. So I like Dwayne Wade. I think Dwayne Wade was, he was a dynamic player. I feel like he was very underrated coming out of college. I think he dropped farther in the draft than he should have. And he was able to pull himself up and get, and have a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, even at Dwayne Wade's ceiling, I doubt this scouting report ever said, this guy could be a potential Hall of Famer. That was never written across his forehead. And I think a lot of the reason people were kind of, not quite turned off or were cautious about him is he had a lot of issues with his knees in college. And it was kind of a risky operation on that eventually turned out in his favor. He had a phenomenal career, but probably could have lasted a little longer had they taken a different decision. But it probably would have derailed what it eventually turned out to him.
Yeah.
So Dwayne Wade is one of my all-time favorite players. Maybe that plays a little bit of bias on my side, but
well, that's what these lists are. You look at number 2, but it's also the eye test. Who do you like? Who do you like watching who do you like watching play the game? And Dwayne Wade. So since we're talking about Dwayne Wade, might as well just go ahead and pop him up. Pull
him up there. He'll include it.
Yeah.
We have. He's got the accolades. 13-time All-Star. He is a 3-time NBA champion, but 2 of those were with LeBron
as a secondary role player,
or
not a role player, secondary star.
But. Yeah, which I think also shows. Another point to his favor is he ran the show in Miami his whole life, his whole career there, and then LeBron comes in and says, "Hey, I'm going to take over the show. You're going to be relegated to a secondary score," and he seemed like he was totally okay with that. He thrived in that role. He brought them 2 more championships. He still put up incredible numbers. And it seemed to be all around successful without letting his ego get in the way.
Yeah, well, I feel like I heard a story where Dwayne Wade actually told LeBron, like, look, man, like, you got to be the one carrying this team. Like, I think Dwayne Wade pulled LeBron aside. Like, look, dude, figure this out. Like, you got to be the leader here. Like, you got us all together. Now lead us. Like, get your head out of your butt and freaking lead us. because that was after they had just lost to
Mavericks.
to the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I think Dwayne Wade sort of talked to him as like, dude, it's got to be on you. Like, you got to step up or step out type of deal. And so I think Dwayne Wade sort of forced that mantleship of leadership onto him because, Dwayne Wade at that time, he was still in his prime, but he definitely knew he was getting older and that he wasn't going to be able to carry the team on his back as much as he could back when he was a 24, he was a young 24-year-old kid. So I think something else that a lot of people docked him on, maybe during his career coming out, was that he was a little short. I mean, at 6'4", it's a little shorter than you'd like to see out of your shooting guards, especially back in the time when he came in. You want to see your shooting guard, 6'6", 6'7". You want to see a longer, bigger guy that can guard more, but can sort of guard better. And he was a little undersized as far as that goes.
From putting people on posters, though.
Yeah.
That guy could dunk on people.
Oh yeah, the dude had ups. For a 6'4" guy, he had ups.
Yeah, he's also, speaking of his ups, he's one of the greatest shot blocking shooting guards of all time.
That's true. That's something that people don't
need to pull up his shot blocking numbers, but I think he may be number one in that category, actually. That's something I want to look up real fast.
All right. Yeah, you look at his steal, while you're looking that up, his steals, he's averaging 1.5 steals per game while you're looking that up, 48% field goal shooter. So he was super efficient with the ball too, he's got the scoring title, but he got it off of pretty efficient shooting, 22 points, almost 5 rebounds, over 5 assists. And then the steals, something that I feel like a lot of people don't give him credit for being for being defensive, but
yeah. So I'm looking up blocks per game right now. Over his career, which lasted, let's see, how long was his career? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, so I think like 16, 17 seasons. So, so he had another super long career there. And so he only averaged 0.8 blocks a game, so just under a block a game. But he had many, many seasons where he was averaging 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 blocks a game.
Yeah, I'm looking. He's got a lot
now is better than a lot of starting centers in the NBA currently.
Well, yeah, it's because it's all perimeter. Centers aren't getting, because back in the day, guards are coming into the middle, and then centers are able to get the shot blocks on the small guys. But nowadays, you got all the small guys that are out there shooting 3-pointers, and the big guys are just sitting there waiting for the rebound. So
that could definitely play into it. But Andre Drummond is averaging 1.2 blocks per game, and that was Dwayne Wade averaged more than that multiple times in his career.
Yeah.
At 6'4",
At 6'4", it'd be because the dude had ups, so he could get up there and he could reject that shot away.
Oh yeah.
It's impressive, and yeah, I do think that he's a little bit underrated as a shot blocker, underrated as a defender. Just because
definitely
of his
underrated
size.
defender. So 1.5 steals over 16, 17 seasons. That's nothing to slouch at. It's not Alvin Robertson,
No, I don't think anyone's Alvin Robertson. I think, like you said, that was most, not the fish for shoot. I think that might be the most steals per, I don't know. That might be the most steals. I don't know. Did I say it for shooting guards or like overall? Like, I don't remember.
I would be surprised if that was overall. 2.7, that's
2.7. That's a lot of steals.
Do over a career. So, maybe Gary Payton would get close to that, but
yeah.
So Dwayne Wade, he's incredible. And then, 22 points over the course of 17 years. And his field goal percentage, 48% for a shooting guard.
For a shooting guard, that's good.
That's super good. He's getting the paint there. And like I said, for being undersized at 6'4", he's getting to the rack in an impressive amount of times. So he was no slouch at all, Dwayne Wade.
So number 4, who you got number 4?
Okay, so number 4 for Cal, we have got the Mr. Logo himself, the clutch man. I got Jerry West.
Speaking of Jerry West, let's go ahead and pop up that slide because I got him down there at number 3.
Number 3. We have the exact same top 10. This will probably make for a very boring video because it's agree on everything.
Oh, I know, but I think it's still interesting-ish.
Yeah, they kind of pick, why we put people where we did. But
yeah.
Jerry West, I think these next couple will be almost identical here. I think everyone's top 10 list, the first 3 or 4 look
are pretty similar.
All
right, so your turn. Jerry West, why'd you put him at number 4?
Okay, first off, let's go to Zach Cleveland. 14-time All-Star, 12-time All-NBA selection. Not only was he also a scoring leader, he averaged right there, 27 points a game, but he's also 5-time All-Defensive team. I mean, the guy played both sides of the ball. He wasn't one-dimensional. He wasn't going to go, something like James Harden, and score 38 points a game and then allow 24 points because he take defensive possessions off. And this guy was out there to play basketball, both ends of the floor, and to win the ball game. So I think it also was impressive as he did this during the Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell era as well.
Which is why he only has one championship ring. That came with Wilt Chamberlain, but I mean, the guy's going up against the
against Bill Russell
Celtics.
and the Celtics. Yeah,
I mean, you can't fault the guy.
That's why.
Well, the thing is too is they didn't keep track of 3-pointers at the time because that was before the 3-point era. He probably would be over 30. I mean, he has 27 based off of just 2-pointers. You add in the 3-point line too, and he could shoot out there. Like you add in the 3-point line, I'd guess he's probably getting 30, 32, 33 points a game.
Oh, definitely. I mean, same story as Pete Maravich. I mean, the guy was just known for just shooting from an incredible distance, knocking those shots down. So
yeah. So I will say that 2.6 steals, that does come with the caveat. That was only one season, his last season in the league. So he's already getting old, and he averaged 2.6 steals. So just think about that, what that could have translated to had they kept track of steals when he was a younger guy.
Yeah.
Think of that.
He was making the all-defensive teams. So.
Yeah. As an old guy, 2.6 steals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
how many steals would Jerry West have? How many blocks would Wilt and Bill Russell have? You just wonder, like, man, I wish I knew.
Bill and Wilt, like, you look at the leaders. I think it's Akeem Olajuwon's the current all-time blocks leader. I think I could be wrong on that. I'm not 100% certain on who it is.
But I mean, if we really count every block that Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain had, I highly doubt.
They would easily be at the top of the list. It's just like Chamberlain and Bill Russell are at the top of the rebounds list.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and one thing that's on here also, he led the league in assists for one season as well, averaging over 9.7. So I mean, the guy was just an all-around ball player.
Career
anywhere on the floor. He had the rebounds. I mean, he had the steals. He had the assists. Like the guy was elite in every category.
Yeah, 6.7 assists a game, 5.8 rebounds. Like the dude got rebounds too as a guard, almost 6 rebounds a game. For a guy who's 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah, some places I even have listed as 6'2". So
yeah, so a little short guy going into the trees, and that was back in an era when there were centers in the league, not the spread, not the space, not the stretch fives we got in today's game. Joel Embiid here's looking at you, go down low, be a man, but he's getting rebounds again.
You guys that, they had the prototypical the power forwards, like the golden era of the big men.
It was 60s, 70s, like that was the big man era. Mm-hmm. And he was getting almost 6 rebounds a game. I mean,
no slouch there. I think we mentioned before briefly, he only won one NBA title, and he said that was mostly in part because of the Boston Celtics. That's really where like the Boston-LA rivalry began. But like I said, it's not for lack of trying. In fact, the first year they gave out a Finals MVP award was in one of these classic duels between Boston and LA. And he actually wound up losing that year to Boston, but he won that year's
the Finals MVP.
On the only time it's ever been awarded to a player on the losing team. He averaged over 38 points a game in his losing effort. And the guy he was incredible. And that was when Wilt and Bill Russell were having their classic battles. I mean, there was some big games in those games.
And so, I mean, I just looked it up, and he was a 14-time All-Star. That he was in the league for 14 years. He played 14 seasons. He was an All-Star.
Oh, wow, 100%.
100%. Like, he was always an All-Star. Like,
I mean, 12-time All-NBA. There was 2 years in his career he was not an
All-NBA selection.
So he was the best the entire time he was there.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think a lot of it, I don't know. It's hard always to compare players at different eras because basketball was a very different game back when Jerry West played as compared to now. But again, like, I don't know if we could build a time machine. We brought Jerry West and he played in today's NBA. I wonder if he'd play even better because
he could.
The game is geared towards his skill set,
which is scoring. And, if he's getting 27 points in a league where they played a lot of hard defense, imagine today's NBA where you have, you're at the 3-point line. He could have he could be doing he could have since the impact of the game at Steph Curry. You know, Steph Curry had. He could have been the guy shooting logo threes and doing all that stuff. So incredible player. Number 3, Jerry West. Who you got?
All right. So for me, number 3, I picked the pound for pound best NBA player ever, Allen Iverson.
See,
he cut your list or?
No, so he actually made my top 10 in my last for point guards.
Point guards?
I put him as a point guard. So he did, I figured he played, he pretty much ran the offense when he was on the field. So I got him as a point guard. I don't remember exactly where I slotted him. I think it might have been like 8 or 9, something like that. I don't exactly remember. But,
yeah, I definitely put him as a shooting guard. I mean, most of the rosters that he's listed on, they had him listed as like shooting guard / point guard. So he fit both roles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to select Allen Iverson. I mean, a little bit of my bias plays in there because I'm a huge guy fan. But I mean, what he could do at his size, I mean, barely 6'1", 160 pounds. I mean, the guy was tiny. And this was back in the early 2000s where like they played it. I mean, the hand check rule didn't exist then. They could hit you pretty hard on the perimeter, and you were not getting easy buckets inside. I mean, yeah, Dwight Howard, Kevin Garnett. I mean, patrolling the paint. I mean, you were not.
Well, I think Iverson was on the downside of his career by the time Dwight Howard came around. He wasn't running. But Kevin Garnett was definitely during his heyday. I think he had. I think he still had Alonzo Mourning playing, and I think a little bit Dikembe Mutombo, who they're on the downside, but still like defensive guys.
Yeah, still a big pro in the league, definitely more so than it is now. But I mean, the guy, he averaged so many, 26.7 points a game. That puts him in the top 10 or 15 of all time. And I mean, he had scoring titles. He had his MVP. He drug his 76ers to the finals against Kobe and the Lakers, where they eventually lost. But I mean, he has so many iconic moments that I put him at my number 3 of all time. I mean, imagine what he could do if he gave him 4 more inches and 40 more pounds. I mean,
but at the same time, would he have been as effective? Because a lot of his effectiveness was because he was so small. The dude was lightning fast. Quick. Like that was part of his, that was part of the thing is he could cross you over because he's so quick. You're still going this way when he's already going the other way. So, I mean, if you make him a little bit bigger, maybe he's not as effective.
That's one of the things you'll never know. I mean,
that's the caveat.
Which is fun to debate, but
but I feel like if you make him a little bigger, you take away some of that speed and explosiveness, and maybe he's not. I mean, I'm sure he'd still be good, but I don't know if he'd be as good because it'd be a lot easier to stop.
But I think he makes my top 3 just because of what he was able to do with his size and just the incredible numbers that he put up over his career.
Oh yeah, he can get buckets.
Yeah, and even not only his buckets, but his defensive statistics as well. I mean, he had he led the league in steals 3 times. I mean, the guy was picking off passing lanes and playing defense. He was.
Well, it's because he was so small. You couldn't see him. You come up the court and you throw the ball, and all of a sudden, little midget comes out and grabs the ball.
That Muggsy Bogues effect,
You're like, oh, it's clear. Oh, shoot, no, it's not clear. Oh.
We're used to playing guys who are 6'6", 6'7", Yeah, we have to look a little bit down in your gaze.
Yeah.
So I put Allen Iverson at number 3 overall.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, like I said, like if I might have put him at number 3 if I hadn't put him at point guard because I feel like I viewed him as more of a point guard throughout his career because he was the guy facilitating. It was actually my dad was actually saying I should put Jerry West my point guards, but I saw him more as a 2 guard, so I'm like I'll give him love. I'll give him love when I'm talking about my shooting guard segment. That's where I'll give Jerry West the love. But,
So definitely those players could be interchangeable with shooting guards.
Getting into my number 2, which I think everybody knows who it is. Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. The mini Jordan. I mean, the guy was a Jordan clone. I love watching the YouTube videos where they show him and Jordan side by side doing the same exact shots, the same exact moves, the same exact mentality of just I'm going to win the ball. I'm going to win. Give me the ball. Get out of my way, and I will carry you on my back. 5-time champion, 18-time All-Star, had a 20-year career, only missed out twice in his rookie and sophomore season when he was still getting acclimated. The Lakers had a good 2 guard at the time, So they didn't necessarily need him to come out and do, do what he does. But 15-time All NBA team, 1-time MVP. Honestly, he should have 2. Steve Nash stole 1. But
It's
that's one of
the biggest.
Steve Nash stole 1 from him.
Mhm.
But 25 points, 5.2
ever.
rebounds, 4.7 assists, 1.4 steals. And his passing is something that I feel like is overshadowed with Kobe a lot. I feel like a lot of people are like, he never passed the ball, but there he is, almost 5 assists a game. Whereas
which is much higher than a lot of players on this list.
Yeah, you look at like Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, those guys are, sitting at the low 3s per game. And
George Gervin was barely over 2.5.
Yeah, exactly. But you got a guy like Kobe who's putting up 25 points a game. I mean,
yeah, that's what I was pointing to as well. I mean, because growing up, Kobe was at the top of the game. I mean, he was the best player in the league for so long, and people are like, oh, he's such a ball hog, because he took 1 or 2 shots that, I mean, he probably could have passed.
Probably shouldn't have made.
It still went in, I mean, like, the ball's going in, why pass it,
Yeah.
You point to the stats, I'm like, well, we had 8 assists that game. Like, is that really ball hoggery? I don't know. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's like, but he has this view around the league of, I never passed the ball, when he was actually a pretty good passer. He was great at it.
There's times, I mean, you have to, if you look at his top 10 highlights, you probably won't see any passes there because he was such such dazzling in that area of the game. But I mean, if you just really look at his game film, his passes are incredible. He had so many Magic-esque no-look passes. He'll slip out of double teams, even off pick and rolls. Like the guy could find the big man down low, and he's double, quadruple teamed on the baseline.
When he got his playoff series clinching, famous pass to Shaq against the Portland Trailblazers, the alley-oop pass, I mean, that's one of the most iconic moments of his career and probably of Laker history, to be honest, because that got them past the Portland Trailblazers. But yeah, I mean, I remember. I mean, he had when he got his 81-point game, he scored 60 points against the Mavericks in 3 quarters, and then Phil Jackson said, "All right, you're done. Like, I'm gonna pull you because we're blowing them out." And the next game, Kobe's like, "I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get you 81.
I'm gonna go for it."
I'm going for it.
That, yeah. I mean, that week, that 2 weeks, he scored so many points.
Those 2 games, I mean, just 81, 60 points, 64. I think it was like 60, 64 against the Mavericks. 81 against the Raptors, which is the second most in NBA history. The dude could score flat out.
He averaged 35, 36 a game.
I think that was the year that Steve Nash might have stolen that MVP from him.
Yeah, and he didn't win the MVP.
And he didn't win the MVP, which is just highway robbery.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to say though because I love Steve Nash as well. I think he was a very unique player to win the MVP, but that one of those definitely should have gone to Kobe for that year.
Oh, absolutely. Kobe got robbed.
Yeah. Also, one thing really fast. I mean, you can talk all day about Kobe, and he's been, especially with his recent passing, I mean, his achievements have been spouted across the nation over and over and over, which that'll never get old. I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all, but definitely underrated. He was a 12-time all-defensive team. I mean, the guy played both sides of the ball. I mean, we call him Mini Jordan, and that almost is like a knock against him, but he really was. I mean, Jordan scored the ball at every opportunity, but he also played defense, and so did Kobe. He never won a Defensive Player of the Year like Jordan did, but he was there 12 times in the running. So
yeah,
he did what it took to win the game.
Yeah, and that's and that's why I think everyone knows number 2, because it's like everything that you saw he got from Michael. Like Michael Jordan, like I don't know, did you watch the Last Dance documentary at all?
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, but yeah, I've watched it.
Okay. I remember there's an episode where he sort of talked to his relationship with Kobe, where like they're at an All-Star game, I think, and he's like tells Kobe like, "Yeah, message me whenever you want," and Kobe like keeps bugging the guy. He's like, teach me this, like, and so they ended up having a really tight, close friendship, and and Kobe even credited Jordan, everything you got from me, I got from him. Like he even credited Jordan, like, yeah, I patterned my game after him, and he was the closest thing to Jordan that we will ever see.
Absolutely. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I mean, when you want to be the best, you have to become and beat the best. So.
Absolutely. And if you look at his numbers too, like if you look at it like overall, like you could easily break his career up into 2 Hall of Fame worthy careers. Like that's how good he was. Like you have the first 10 years is number 8 and the last 10 years is number 24. Like you can literally break it up and
Yeah,
have
definitely.
have two Hall of Fame careers off of one guy. I mean, that's just something you just don't see
Mhm.
anymore. And he was my guy growing up. I mean, I remember watching him growing up, watching him with my dad. Watching him hit. Like I mentioned earlier, that shot over Dwayne Wade. I also saw him hit the 3-pointer against the Kings that clinched the game there. And I mean, I don't know what else you can say about the guy. He even coined a phrase, Mamba mentality. Everyone talks about
Yeah.
got the Mamba mentality because the dude was unafraid to shoot the ball. He didn't care if he missed. He was going to try it again the next game.
Yeah, he had the utmost confidence in himself. Like I love what he said. He'd rather go 0 for 30 than go 0 for 9.
Yeah.
Because he said that if you go 0 for 9, you stop believing in yourself.
Yeah. Well, and it
He
was
knew.
good to see his final game, the way he went out against the Utah Jazz,
Oh.
got 60 points on 50 shots. He shot the ball 50 times and he only scored 60 points. But
only scored 60 points.
but it wasn't. But like he shot close. I think he either shot close to or at 50% for the game. So it wasn't like he was inefficient. He just put up a lot of shots, which is what he was known for. Like it was a good thing to see him go out unashamed,
doing what Kobe does.
Doing what Kobe does, being Kobe. Kobe being Kobe.
Like but he got the win, and I mean to be perfectly honest, like that was when the Lakers were really struggling.
Yeah.
Downward trend into a rebuild mode.
And it was good to end the season on a high note of
I mean, who was really gonna hit the shots? Who like you gonna pass the ball to Nick Young?
Swaggy P.
Swaggy
Brick.
Kobe's like, no, Brad, like this is my last game. Like I'm 50 shots. I'm winning this game.
I'm going to take as many. And then I think the team was even feeding him the ball. The team was like, yeah, go ahead. Like, here, you take the ball. You do you. Like, we're not going to the playoffs anyways. So you know what? just go for it. And then also, I mean, there's a good story about how mentally tough he was. There's that story when he popped his Achilles tendon and he comes out and shoots 2 free throws and hits them both to win the game. To win the game. Like, he pops his Achilles tendon and is like, okay, hobbles out to the...
In those games he played with his broken fingers.
Yeah. Yeah, he just like hobbles out there on the torn Achilles tendon and shoots 2 free throws. The Lakers got bounced out of the playoffs, but that got him into the playoffs. That game did. That clinched the playoffs for him. And that's the kind of player that he was.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's a coined phrase. That's a key attribute you look in many up-and-coming players. Like, do they have that Mamba mentality? And I mean, a player that I feel like I compare a lot in my mind to Kobe, just with his prolific scoring ability, is James Harden. But that's the 2 key things I feel like James Harden is missing and will never be on the same level as Kobe until he fixes it, is his defense and the Mamba mentality, which just don't feel like he has.
He doesn't have that. He doesn't have the clutch gene in him. And I don't know if it's something you can develop. I think that's something that you're born with. Like, there are certain players that are born with that killer instinct. You got Michael Jordan, you got Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson had that killer instinct. There's those certain players who are just gonna, they're just gonna go right for your jugular to end the game, and they're like, I don't care, I'm going for you. Yeah. Yeah, and that's something you're born with. I don't think that's something you can develop. That's something that you're born. I think that's something that you're born with and that you don't see very often.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like maybe I misspoke earlier when I spoke the 2 things that he needs to develop. James Harden does. I don't think he can develop that. I think you can get better at it and recognize in-game decisions where you probably need to take that shot or be a little more possessive of the responsibility for the outcome of the game. But that killer instinct, it's something that you're born with. So, and
that's not something you see in today's NBA because, as you alluded to earlier, a lot of today's NBA players, they're all best buddies. They all want to hang out. Kobe was. Kobe was. But when you're between the court, when you're in the hardwood, you're not my friend. I don't like you. I don't care about you. I'm here to win. And if I got to run through you to do that, great. I'm gonna run you over.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And his incredible work ethic. Like, there's so many stories of guys, they go early to the gym to get in there and, get up shots before the game, and they realize that Kobe's beat them by a couple hours. He's up there working up a sweat. He's the first one on the floor, last one out of the gym. I mean, he never did anything that he hadn't already practiced. The reason why he took so many shots is because he'd done it tens of thousands of times. He knew it was going to go in. And if it didn't go in the first time, it's going in the second time.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot, and I assume that's your number 2 as well, was Kobe.
Yeah, Kobe was number 2.
Yeah, definitely. Number 2, obviously. And that I feel like Kobe, that's a good segue to who everyone says is the greatest of all time. number 1, Michael Jordan. You know, and as I was actually doing a precursory look at this list, I was actually thinking maybe I could put Kobe ahead of Michael Jordan. And then I started looking at more, and then I started looking at the MVPs, you know, the 10-time scoring leader and the points. Like I started looking at everything, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't, because I was looking like, oh, you know, he's got more Kobe's got more all defensive team selections, you know, more all stars. But then
He has
I'm
a better
like,
3-point percentage.
yeah, but then I started like going into the 5 MVPs, 10-time scoring leader, 30 points per game. I mean, and then I just started realizing that, you know, he played for I think he played 14 years, was an all-star all 14 years. Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
I mean, what is there to say about Jordan that already hasn't been said? I mean, he tops everybody's list. I mean, he'll be compared to the GOAT. I mean, he'll be equated as the GOAT for the end of time.
Yeah.
He's the greatest.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the greatest shooting guard. And I feel like a lot of people want to make a case for LeBron James as the GOAT. I feel like you could even make a case for Kareem as the GOAT. If you look at Kareem, what Kareem did, because Kareem had 6 championships as well. He was I think he might have been a 6-time MVP. I'm not exactly sure on Kareem's. I haven't filled out my my top 10 centers of all time yet bracket. Yeah. But no, Michael Jordan is definitely the number 1 shooting guard of all time, and I don't think there's any debate about it. I feel like you said earlier, you know, the top, you know, in your top 10, the top 6, 7 spots maybe are debatable. You know, maybe you can even debate down to number 8 through 10, those spots, but number 1 and 2, there's no debate. It's Michael.
It's identical.
It's Kobe. There's Kobe. No other option for number 1 and 2.
I mean, some of the stats here, I mean, they were talking about earlier that were just mind-boggling. I mean, Alvin Robertson, the 2.7 steals a game for the career was incredible. Well, Jordan's right here with 2.3. That's less than half a steal behind.
Yeah, and he also averaged 30 points.
Yeah, on top of that.
On top of that, I mean, you just watch Michael Jordan, and you just watch his highlights, and I'm watching the Last Dance documentary. I was just blown away by how good he was. You know, I feel like he might have been a little too intense sometimes. His win at all cost mentality was a bit too extreme, but I think that's what made him great, and that's what drove his teammates to be great, is because he wouldn't let them be soft. You know, he would. You know, I remember we talked about in our draft. You know, in our fantasy mock draft, I said, you know, LeBron James would get Kawhi Leonard on board with not load managing, and you know, Michael Jordan would tell Kawhi Leonard, either get on the program or get off my team. Like,
or get off the team. Yeah,
I don't want you.
Definitely.
If you're not going to win, I don't want you.
Yeah, I think they're both incredible leaders, but their leadership style is polar opposites. And I mean, they both proved to be effective. It's just who they work with. So
yeah. And I think one of my favorite stories about Michael Jordan came from the USA basketball team back when the Dream Team got started. There's a famous story where Magic Johnson got his squad together, and he had a bunch of the older players on the team, you know, and Michael Jordan got his squad together, and they got, you know, he had a lot of the younger guys, and they started going at it. And Jordan and Magic were both they were just butting heads like mad. They're like, oh, Magic was saying like, don't let him do that to you. Go back and get him on. Go dunk on him again. You know, like these guys like trash talking back and forth. And the game was getting super physical and violent because just Magic, like I said, Magic Johnson he wanted to win at all costs. Michael Jordan, win at all costs. They don't care that it's a scrimmage. It doesn't matter. They just wanted to win. So those two guys are bumping heads, you know. And Michael Jordan, I guess after the game, Michael Jordan walks up and said something along the lines of like, good game. Like I'm, you know, my turn, you know. And Magic looks over at Larry Bird and is like, he's right. Yeah, he's right.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Larry Bird, one of my favorite stories is when Larry Bird, was at the height of his reign as MVP. He just caught a championship. He was the greatest player in the world at the time. And that year, he sees Michael play, and he's like, he's the basketball god. I've never seen a player like that before. This is the greatest player on the planet at the time.
Yeah, he's God masquerading as Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, yeah. He wasn't wrong. I mean, here we go.
No, the dude
years later, and he's still the greatest of all time.
Unbelievable, like unbelievable player. There's not much you can say about him. You know, I mean, in my book, he is the greatest of all time. I feel like, I mean, just all around. He did what more could you want from a guy? What more could you want from a player on your team?
Yeah. I mean, he's the best two-way player I feel like I've ever seen. I mean, he is rebranded the game of basketball since he stepped foot in the league. He's the GOAT.
Yeah, it's like Magic and Larry Bird saved the NBA, and Michael Jordan turned it into a money-making machine. Like Michael Jordan
definitely.
I feel like Michael Jordan, the reason why the league is the way it is today is because of Michael Jordan and how successful it is. Because these players, no one was getting shoe deal until Michael Jordan got his big shoe deal, and Gatorade and all these sponsorships. Like he sort of set the tone for superstars in today's NBA. He was the original superstar.
Yeah.
That everybody sort of based that all what the groundwork that he laid is what other players built upon.
Definitely. And I feel like, I don't know, the one thing I always have to shake my head at and just smile and disbelief is he retired because he'd done everything. It was too easy. I mean, what else was he supposed to do? He'd won multiple titles. He three-peated. He was a dunk champ, defensive player of the year, scoring title, MVP. I mean, what else was there to accomplish? He'd done it all.
Yeah.
And so, I've conquered basketball. Let's do something else.
And so they went to play baseball.
Another player that could just walk away because they did it all.
And then he came back.
And then he came back and still did it.
Was that good? It took 2 years off and he was still as dominant as he was before.
I mean, LeBron has a great case for greatest of all time. People want to say he's the greatest of all time. I mean, there's a hard time denying that.
Oh, yeah.
But LeBron could never just walk away from the game and say, oh, I've done everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he could maybe do that now. Yeah, when he's reached his 17th season.
I think it's his 18th year. I think he's playing
18th year
18
now.
years.
Yeah.
And the dude's still getting 25, 8, and 8.
Yeah, I mean, he's still
year 18. Who does that?
Dominant. I mean, he's in the conversation of greatest of all time for a reason, and you can't knock people's decisions in there. But at that point in his career where Jordan stepped away, LeBron couldn't have stepped away and still claimed he was the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
He hadn't done the things Jordan had done.
Yeah.
It took him much longer, and I feel like a little bit more help. But so
yeah. So yeah.
What else to say about Michael Jordan?
there's nothing else. So that's the top 10. I feel like we were on pretty much the same page for a lot of those picks. I mean, I feel like the top of the roster kind of shook things up a little bit. So I definitely think next time I'll be doing small forwards and I'll move down to power forwards and centers. I feel like when we get to centers, I think we're going to have some different views when it comes to the greatest centers of all time. I think that one could get interesting. But
yeah, that is a position that has evolved quite a bit.
Yeah. So yeah, anything else you'd like to add before we close out today?
It's just really quick. I mean, with lists like this, you're always going to leave people off that, I mean, definitely deserve to be on. I feel like two notable absences on my list were Tracy McGrady. I feel like he had a prolific career for the years he was healthy. And if he had been on a better team, I feel like definitely we would have him have a couple rings and a couple more accolades he didn't receive. And then David Thompson, the Skywalker. If his career hadn't been cut short by off-the-court personal decisions, substance abuse, and such, he put 70 points up in a game. I mean, he was a prolific scorer. One of the led the way for what the shooting guard position later then came to be. But 11 and 12, they'd probably make that list.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you, Cal. Well, if you're free Friday, we'll have you back on, and we'll run it back with our top 10 small forwards. Anyways, thanks for being on the show. And if you guys have any comments, likes, you guys want me to cover any topics you guys want me to cover, feel free to go ahead and post those in the comments, and I'll do my best to accommodate people. Cal, thanks for being on. Great to have you.
Yes, thank you. Glad to be here again. I appreciate it.
So yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday.